Então, muito bom dia a todos. Nós obviamente gostaríamos de dar as boas-vindas a este Café com Dados, com o título Roadmaps Institucionais para Serviços CDI. Queremos que seja aqui um ambiente informal, que as pessoas estejam à vontade para colocar as suas questões e criamos aqui uma interação de grupo. Como moderadores da sessão teremos o Dr. Eloy Rodrigues, da Universidade do Minho, e eu estarei também a apresentar e a acompanhar a sessão. Para quem ainda não me conhece, o meu nome é Filipa Pereira, eu trabalho na RCT-FCCN, na área, mais especificamente da área de gestão de dados de investigação, e conto que esta sessão seja obviamente aqui muito produtiva e muito útil, e vamos contar também aqui com a participação do Ignasi Labastida, da Universidade de Barcelona, e também do Frans Huigen, do DANS. Em termos de agenda, nós vamos fazer aqui uma breve abordagem ao estabelecimento das estratégias e planos de intervenção para os serviços CDI nas instituições. Vamos ter então depois a participação do Ignasi Labastida, que nos irá aqui apresentar o RDM readiness do projeto Learn, que representa aqui um kit de ferramentas de melhores práticas para a gestão dos dados de investigação. A ideia será, do ponto de vista prático, criarmos algumas salas paralelas, portanto, as chamadas breakout rooms aqui no Zoom, para que possa ser feita uma discussão em pequenos grupos e, neste caso em particular, portanto, desta ferramenta do RDM Readiness, criámos aqui um pequeno formulário que contém as questões da ferramenta e achamos que seria muito interessante partilhar convosco e tentarmos efetuar em conjunto o preenchimento. Vamos ter posteriormente a apresentação de uma segunda ferramenta de avaliação, que é o do iPass for FAIR, que é uma ferramenta para medir a fairness de uma organização, e vai ser então uma apresentação feita pelo Frans Huigen. Vamos ter depois novamente um espaço para discussão em grupo, onde vamos também olhar para o questionário desta ferramenta, e depois numa fase final vamos nos juntar e vamos trocar impressões, fomentar um bocadinho mais a discussão e apresentar aqui as principais conclusões. Portanto, sem mais demoras, passaríamos então aqui para a primeira parte, a parte aqui do estabelecimento das estratégias e planos de intervenção para os serviços de gestão de dados de investigação nas instituições. E eu começaria aqui por relembrar os vários benefícios e também vantagens de uma adequada gestão dos dados. Portanto, como sabem, uma adequada gestão de dados contribui para uma maior visibilidade da investigação, garante a acessibilidade dos dados, assegura também a qualidade e a validação dos resultados, contribui igualmente para a preservação da informação, não só durante a investigação, como também posteriormente, e, muito importante, assegura a reutilização dos resultados, o que contribui, obviamente, aqui em larga escala para a disseminação da ciência e do conhecimento. Ao pensarmos no estabelecimento das estratégias e também planos de intervenção por parte das instituições, temos que ter em consideração também o que é que está a acontecer, qual é o contexto atual, quer em termos de práticas, quer em termos de recomendações. E decidimos aqui apresentar alguns exemplos que devem ser tidos em conta. Estamos a presenciar uma evolução muito grande a nível das políticas de ciência aberta e também das práticas de gestão e partilha de dados. Temos a recente Lei da Ciência, que menciona que as instituições de investigação e desenvolvimento deverão contribuir também para uma ciência aberta. Temos a iniciativa EOS, que inclusive foi ontem mencionada no Fórum, e que vai incluir, e já está a incluir, serviços e componentes que vão ser muito úteis para as instituições e para as infraestruturas. É também sempre importante seguir e conhecer aqui as recomendações de instituições que são consideráveis credíveis nesta área, como por exemplo a Science Europe. Temos depois também aqui os próprios requisitos adotados nos quadros dos programas Horizonte 2020 e agora do próximo Horizonte Europa. E por último destacamos também os princípios orientadores para a implementação de uma ciência aberta. Eu terminava aqui a minha parte falando e abordando, obviamente, aqui de um ponto que é muito importante, que é a gestão de dados de investigação alinhada com os princípios FAIR. Dar a possibilidade a outros investigadores para aceder aos dados de uma investigação, sem dúvida que vai fomentar o processo de conhecimento e também a melhora de transparência da investigação. Os princípios FAIR descrevem como os resultados da investigação devem ser organizados e basicamente focam-se na questão de serem localizáveis, portanto, nomeadamente através de um mecanismo de identificação standard, Os dados devem ser facilmente acessíveis, devem contribuir também para a interoperabilidade, portanto, permitindo que haja uma partilha de informação entre investigadores, instituições e até entre vários países, e também possam permitir a mais ampla reutilização possível. Passava a palavra então agora ao Eloy.
Muito obrigado, Filipa, e também queria dar as boas-vindas a todos os participantes aqui deste Café com Dados, que também é um momento típico dos fóruns GDI, que nós já temos feito, digamos, presencialmente noutros fóruns. Entretanto, já mais pessoas se juntaram aqui a nós. E o objetivo deste Café com Dados é exatamente conhecermos e partilharmos experiências digamos, e discutir a questão das estratégias institucionais para a gestão de dados de investigação. Obviamente que em muitos contextos e em muitas, digamos, e provavelmente eu diria na generalidade dos contextos, a questão da gestão de dados de investigação aparece de uma forma, digamos, bottom-up, aparece por iniciativas isoladas, individuais, ou de um pequeno grupo, ou de uma unidade de uma instituição, e isso é normal, digamos, e é quase inevitável, mas há um momento em que, digamos, é bom que essas iniciativas possam ser enquadradas e possam ser melhoradas, alavancadas, integradas numa estratégia institucional. E o objetivo deste Café com Dados é exatamente esse, conhecermos algumas experiências e algumas ferramentas que nos podem ajudar, digamos, nesse percurso. Eu tenho aqui este slide, que é também uma partilha da nossa experiência aqui na Universidade do Minho. Nós começamos também com algumas atividades nesta área já em 2014, e em 2017 isto foi uma iniciativa institucional mesmo, da reitoria, que criou um grupo de trabalho com gente de várias unidades orgânicas, de vários centros de investigação, para a definição de uma estratégia institucional, ou para recomendações para uma estratégia institucional de gestão de dados de investigação. Tenho aí o link para esse documento, e eu queria, sobretudo, mais do que o documento em si, até porque, digamos, essa estratégia precisa de ser revisitada agora. Estou a dizer, essa estratégia necessitará até agora de ser já atualizada, certamente, mas aqui há uma questão que digamos, que eu penso que vale a pena referir, que há dimensões que têm que sempre fazer parte da estratégia. Elas podem ter, digamos, e vocês vão ver que nos instrumentos elas aparecem até referenciadas de uma forma diferente, mas há aqui algumas dimensões que são básicas. Uma é a dimensão das infraestruturas, serviços e ferramentas, ou seja, para termos uma estratégia para a gestão de dados de investigação e para termos gestão de dados de investigação é preciso termos infraestruturas, serviços e ferramentas para os apoiar. A segunda é a questão das políticas. É fundamental que a gestão de dados de investigação, do ponto de vista institucional, seja apoiada por políticas que sejam coerentes e que exatamente potenciem a efetividade da estratégia, que suportem as infraestruturas, que suportem e permeiem as práticas, etc. E, finalmente, a questão das competências e da capacitação e da formação. Também só há uma estratégia institucional de gestão de dados de investigação se houver, digamos, a promoção ativa e a criação das competências necessárias para dar suporte a isso. E, portanto, vocês vão ver aqui que em várias... Filipe, pode passar para o próximo slide, por favor? Que há várias... Ok. Que há várias formas como isso se expressa, mas estes três elementos estão sempre presentes de uma forma ou de outra em todos os documentos. Eu só quero, para além dos dois documentos que vamos falar aqui hoje, do Learn e do iPass for FAIR, portanto, e sobre eles não vou dizer nada porque depois vamos ter o Ignasi e o Frans a falar sobre eles. Falar-vos de dois outros, um pouco mais antigo, que é um guia australiano, o guia do ANDS, digamos, do Framework para Data Management, que tem, digamos, 5 dimensões e, portanto, e essas 5 dimensões avaliadas também com 5 níveis de maturidade, portanto, as políticas e procedimentos, a infraestrutura as infraestruturas tecnológicas, os serviços de suporte, a gestão de dados e a gestão de metadados. e depois um outro documento, e pronto, este também tem tipo quase um framework, um questionário de autoavaliação nestes diferentes pontos, e depois um outro documento, esse um bocadinho mais recente, de 2018, do Portage, que é uma iniciativa australiana, exatamente nacional, para a gestão de dados de investigação, que tem um template, digamos, e também tipo uma checklist para a identificação ou para a definição de estratégias de gestão de dados de investigação a nível institucional. E, portanto, e é essa a minha mensagem, digamos, final, existem um conjunto de ferramentas e de exemplos que nós podemos usar, não temos que todos passar, digamos, começar do zero, não temos todos de pensar como é que é a roda, já existem algumas rodas, obviamente há tamanhos diferentes, que nós, portanto, não temos simplesmente copiar, mas, digamos, nós temos já muitos sítios onde nos podemos inspirar. E, portanto, e com isto eu passava a apresentar o Ignasi Labastida. Eu peço à Filipa para não ter a partilhar o meu ecrã para avançar. A minha pronto, que vai falar do RDM readiness, portanto, do modelo, digamos, e do kit que foi desenvolvido pelo projeto Learn, que foi um projeto europeu que decorreu aqui há alguns anos. O Ignasi Labastida é da Universidade de Barcelona, como já foi dito, é o diretor eu vou mudar já na apresentação, ainda que o Ignasi perceba português, e portanto eu poderia fazer a apresentação do Ignasi em português. Eu vou mudar já para inglês, porque, digamos, quer a apresentação do Ignasi, quer a apresentação do Frans, serão obviamente em inglês. So I will switch to English now. Thank you very much, Ignasi, for being here with us today. I was saying that you could understand Portuguese, but I'm presenting you in English. You are currently the director of the Office for the Dissemination of Knowledge of Universidade de Barcelona. Ignasi has been working on open knowledge, open science, open access for many years. He is currently also chairing the board of Spark Europe, and is the member of the steering committee on open access from Lero. He was also involved on the Lero roadmap for research data and for open science, and is very active on several contexts of open science. And most of all, it's really a pleasure to have him with us today, because apart from all that, Ignasi is already a very good friend. So thank you very much, Ignasi, and the floor is yours.
Obrigado, Eloy. Prazer estar hoje aqui com vocês. And that's all my Portuguese. I'm gonna try. Thanks for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to be with all the Portuguese colleagues, and especially because I always say that I learn a lot from all the initiatives from Portugal. So I'm more than happy to be together with you. Even today has to be virtually, and I hope soon will be in person. So what I plan to do today is just to review what we did in this Learn project, to share with you what we did during the project and the tools we provide. And afterwards, I know that, as I understood, there is a survey to follow the survey, and we will comment on the results. So I will put some context about the project. The Learn project was a project that lasts for 24 months, for 2 years, during this period, June 2015 to May 2017. And the idea of the project was to deliver a model of a research data management policy together with a toolkit to support implementation based on the Lero roadmap for research data. The web page is still available. So if any of you want to go there and check, there are all the documents, all the deliveries we produce during the project. The survey is still alive, and the survey for readiness that I will just talk in a minute, but also the toolkit, because I think one of the good things of this toolkit is that you can find a lot of best practices. Of course, that has been a lot of time already that it's passed. It seems that three years from the ending of the project, maybe it's not too long, but I think there've been a lot of changes in all this environment of research data. So probably if we now wanted to review or to look at the toolkit, we will need to include new best practices, because I think the activity in the research data management environment is really live and dynamic, and there are a lot of things to follow. So you have to understand that our project was based on this roadmap, a roadmap that is still older than the project, so it's almost 7 years old. And that was the first initiative from the LERU. LERU is a group of, at that time, 21 universities, European universities. Now there are 23 universities, research universities, so universities that do a lot of research in Europe, in different countries. And the idea of the roadmap was to provide the universities with a guide to engage with the potential and tackle challenges of data-driven research. So the idea was at that time to say, well, some recommendations for universities, and it could be extended to any research organization. And of course, the document is there. And again, probably it will need a review and an update with the recommendations and the examples that are there. In the last slide, I will mention some of the things that I think it's needed to be included in this roadmap and in any other tool that we had in the past. In that time, in this roadmap, we identify a few topics. I mean, these are more or less the chapters that were included in the roadmap. I think it was important to have a policy and leadership at the university. That hasn't changed. I think that's important if you want to establish a policy on research data management. We need a lot of advocacy, and we need to understand who is the one who has to undertake the advocacy, and of course the messages. I think now we are we can all agree that the goal is not that everything has to be open in this field. Probably it's a bit different than the message that we send from open access publications. But here we want more to have a fair data, to have better management of data, etc. So it's important to draft and to draw the messages. A chapter was dedicated to the selection, collection, curation, description, citation, legal issues. That's I think really important topic, and sometimes there is still a lot to do in all these aspects. Another issue is the infrastructure. We always say that you don't need to have your own infrastructure. Maybe you can work together with other institutions, other research centers around you. For instance, in Catalonia now, we have worked together with the different universities, and we are working in a common infrastructure instead of having each one our own infrastructure. Probably the most unknown or less explored topic is the cost. I don't know if any of your institutions have really done an analysis of cost of having this infrastructure, not just an infrastructure, all the services around research data management. The new roles, the responsibilities, the skills is one of the topics at the end. And finally, in the document, there were the recommendations to the different stakeholder groups. So from this material, from this document that we elaborated in 2013, we decided to identify which were the topics that could be interesting for an institution to make a self-evaluation, to say where we are in policy, in leadership, about the roles, about the information, the dissemination, infrastructure, cost, legals. You see the list here. And the idea was that not to have a survey to rank universities or to have a real picture of what was going on, was more to establish a tool to help universities to know where they were. And that's why we decided to use the traffic light system, so to find questions and give some answers, 3 different answers. From each topic, have 3 answers. One that was meaning you are ready to manage research data. For instance, I identified a leadership, or I identified a committee to work on that, or I have already made some analysis of cost, or I I have ways to disseminate the information, etc. The second option was more that we are on the way. We are planning that, we are establishing a policy, so it was not yet ready, but we were in good direction. And finally, we also had answers in red, meaning that, well, we are not yet started. For instance, as I will show you in a minute, you'll see that in the cost, there were a lot of reds. The idea of the tool that became available on the first 6 months of the project was to be a self-evaluation tool. So we didn't ask from where institution were you, from which country, even it was optional and people were sometimes providing this data. But the results we publish is completely anonymous. We only show the countries they come from, and then you could make a picture. It's more like an estimation than a real picture of what was going on in each country. As you see, each question had 3 different answers. As I said, the survey is still available there in the web page that it's just in the bottom. And since it was a European project, but we had a partner from Chile, we decided also to translate the survey into Spanish and to share this survey in Latin America. So the results of the survey was open for the 2 years of the project, and the last results were that we had 373 valid answers. We identified 42 countries. As I said, some of the answers were not identifiable with a country. And if you want to check at the data, it's available in Zenodo. You can have a look. And as I said, you cannot see the organization, the institution. It's anonymized, but you can identify that mainly the answers come from Europe, Latin America, and the Caribbean. And I just checked that 3 of the answers came from some institutions in Portugal. And we reach other places like Australia, Canada, New Zealand, India, and United States. So the idea was that, not just to be an European project or a European tool, it could be broader and it could be used by anyone. I'm not going to share now the results or all that. You can have a look at there, and we also publish some documents. I just want to show you here what was the situation at the end of 2017, because probably if we make the picture, if we do the picture today, maybe those colors will change a little bit. In summary, as you see, there were a few green, let's say 1/5 of the answers together were green, while 40% were more yellow. So we were well on that way. I have to say that we also look at the results, for instance, only looking at British institutions, and we'll saw at that time a lot of green because they were quite advanced. Probably if we make the same survey, you will see that these differences in different countries. Probably the UK or the Netherlands will be more green than other places. But surprisingly, not Latin America was not too bad, because some people were saying, well, we expect to be a lot of red, and they were doing a lot of good things, and a lot of good practices were exchanged. I just put here 2 of the topics, dissemination and cost models, just to show you the cost model was the more red. So it's almost 2 out of 3 were answering that, well, there has not been any analysis regarding the cost. And on the other side, dissemination was the greener. So meaning that most of the institutions that answer or made this self-evaluation tool were saying that the institution has created some materials on the management of research data, and they were disseminating that information among the researchers. Afterwards, at the end of the project, we also decided to establish some KPIs, some key performance indicators. We always thought that it's important to have indicators. I always say, and I've been involved in different policies, that it's important to know why I want a policy and how I can measure the success or the failure of a policy. I think also what I learned during this project is that it's important to review policies. It's not just I have the policy and that's it. It's important to have indicators to see if you are achieving what you were aimed at making the policy, or if you are not achieving those goals, maybe you need to review the policy. So it's important to review policies. We just at the University of Barcelona last year, we just reviewed our open access policy that was almost 10 years old, and we thought that it was a good time to review that. So developing the KPIs, we decided to have two different group of KPIs that were aligned with the work of elaborating a policy. Our indicators are good to establish the policy, or because if not, we maybe just ended with a paper, but no implementation in place. And afterwards, once we have a policy, we have in the Learn project, we elaborate a model of a policy that you can follow, you can use as a basis for elaborating your own policy. So in that point, we decided also to have indicators about how the policy has been implemented. As an example here, I show some of the topics on the elaboration. So the first indicator, I have or not have the policy, if it's aligned with the model or other policies. I'm ready for creating new services, new roles, how I disseminate or I give information about research data management, the analysis of cost, the analysis of the infrastructure, and the procedures for selection and publication. On the other side, the implementation was more based on, well, if I'm archiving data management plans, which is the number, it's increasing, it's not increasing. About the data sets, if I set, for example, infrastructure, it's the number of data sets increasing. They are used. We know that some data sets will be placed in other places, but maybe we can get information about which data sets are internal deposited and ones are outside. What about the training sessions? What about the cost of monitoring all this policy and the updates and the review? And also there is this list of KPIs with the information on why it is, why we are measuring those indicators. And also we give some expected values. So about, for instance, how many people we expect to be dedicated. But of course, this is indications that you can shape with your own environment, because it depends. If you are a large institution, probably you need more people. If you are a small institution, you need less people. So that was the list of KPIs for the preparation, and this was a bit the list for implementation. And again, here you can have also on the same idea of the traffic lights, you can have a score of where are you now and if it's red, amber, or green. Just to end this short presentation about the Learn tools or the Learn project, I thinking about where are we now and where we're in that moment when we did all these tools. I think that probably if I wanted to start now the project and to start the survey and the KPI now in 2021, because we're almost there, I think we need to include more on FAIR, and I think Frans is going to talk now about FAIR and how institutions are fair. So I think it's perfect now to continue with that, because FAIR principles were published in 2016, so we were in the middle of the project. I think it's important also to take into account, and that's an experience that I have it at the University of Barcelona, all the problems with the data management of personal data. The GDPR just was established as a full application in 2018. So it was after the Learn project. And I think it's important to deal with all these issues and to establish solid procedures within the institution. The IOSC was launched in 2018, and the first assembly of the organization is scheduled for the end of this year. And also, I think, and I remember in one of the workshops we organized, we discussed that in 2019, it was published the 10 principles for machine actionable data management. And I think it's important to have data management plans that are machine actionable. So I think that there are some issues that came just in the middle or at the end of the project that I think now, if I wanted to review what we did, I think I will need to include all these topics. So thank you very much. And I think now we have to work together for a while.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Ignasi, for the presentation. I think probably there will be questions, and I think we will have some time at the end of the workshop for discussion and questions. So the idea now, maybe I will continue, if you don't mind, maybe I will continue in English, so everyone, including Ignasi and Frans, can follow the discussion. So the idea now, and I will hand over to Filipa in 1 second, is that we split in groups, in breakout rooms. So I think we will have 5 breakout rooms, so around 8 people for breakout room. And what we will ask you is to start filling the survey. It's the address is here, and I ask Andrea to put the link also on the chat. And then so start by, I think we'll need probably 5 minutes or so to fill in the survey. Start to fill in the survey, and then the idea is to discuss with your colleagues. But Filipa, please give the more detailed instructions.
Sure. Andrea already sent the link, so you can access the link. I will send afterwards the link also to the breakout rooms. We, as hosts and co-hosts, we go through each room. We have around 6-7 people in each room, so it's a total of 5 rooms. And the idea, as Eloy mentioned, is to fill in the form and try to discuss with the colleagues of the room some of the doubts, and to try to list the 4 or 5 topics that you think that are most difficult to evaluate. So in terms of logistics, I'm going to send you to some rooms. You will have your colleagues, and then at any time you can return to the main room. But I will go through each room and give you some more instructions, okay? So,
and we will have about 15 minutes, so shortly after 20 we will be resume all here on the plenary.
Yes, 15-20 minutes exactly. Yeah. So let's go through this. Okay.
Does not materialize into actual training activities and guidance on a day-to-day practice, I would say. But we're getting there slowly.
With pressures from Europe, no?
No, I'd say it's sometimes a bit harder to implement changes here because we are constantly lacking funds and sources and stable sources of funding. So I think that's a major problem that hampers the progress. But
yeah,
so
the struggles are still at a more basic level, until that if we don't have the basic conditions, then we just don't worry so much with the more high level important things in research. If we are struggling with a contract or with financing, funding for our projects.
I think my own opinion is that this is something that needs to come from the top, and the priorities, it's still not one of the main priorities, I would say. But again, it is changing.
Yeah.
I'd say in the next couple of years we might see some movement into that direction. I think at least the FCT has proven that they're willing to enforce it, and that will be a huge motivator for the institutions to start enforcing it as well.
Yes, if we do that, if you do that at the funding level, so people, as the sustainable development goals, people put them on their project because it's an imposition for funding. And maybe we also need to see what the researchers need now. So if they're not motivated to do it every day, they will probably do it badly or something. So
esta sala está Isabel, o João, Paulo e a Licínia. Alguém precisa de algum apoio? Olá Isabel, olá Paulo.
Olá Filipe. Nós ainda não começámos.
Ai não! É que
Tive aqui o André a dar algumas instruções, mas depois saiu.
Ok.
Ele disse que era suposto nós irmos correndo as perguntas e ir discutindo.
Sim, a ideia era tentar fazer o preenchimento do formzinho que foi partilhado pelo André, portanto aquele linkzinho que nós enviámos há pouco.
Sim.
De qualquer forma...
Sim, estava à espera, porque é assim... Pronto, eu trabalho para a FCT, FCCN, e do nosso ponto de vista nós temos aqui algumas destas coisas, mas do ponto de vista de instituição financiadora, não é?
Claro.
Seria bom ouvir...
Claro.
Não
Sim,
sei
a ideia
a Isabel Andrade nem a Licínia.
Pois. A Isabel teve a oportunidade de ver um pouco algumas questões. A Isabel está com mute, não sei se consegue ligar o microfone.
Claro, desculpa.
Boa.
Sim, eu respondi logo naquela altura e depois comecei a ver que estávamos todos caladinhos aqui na sala.
Estava tudo sossegadinho.
Mesmo até porque estou aqui, mas estou no atendimento ao público.
Ok, é complicado.
Várias coisas ao mesmo tempo. Mas em todo caso eu respondi
Muito bem.
E estava à espera que, entretanto, a Filipa viesse aqui à sala
para
nos...
Tenho estado aqui a percorrer as várias salas para ver se alguém precisa. Eu pedi ajuda ao André, portanto, é o colega também que entretanto, veio aqui até à sala, e o colega da Universidade Domingo também está a dar aqui apoio na reunião. E a Licínia conseguiu dar uma vistinha de olhos ao formulário?
Olá, bom dia. Sim, eu sou da Universidade de Coimbra. Preenchi o formulário, algumas questões teria de ir verificar, não tenho a certeza da resposta, não é?
Pois.
Mas na dúvida coloquei na fasquia mais baixa, porque nós estamos a tentar agora criar uma estratégia e é por isso que eu estou aqui, porque o meu papel é dar apoio nesse aspecto, mas tal como a Isabel, acho que o problema é que nós temos muitas coisas para fazer ao mesmo tempo e assim torna-se mais complicado.
Claro, muito bem.
Mas
então
pronto, eu também já conheci este projeto, que foi precisamente...
Já lhe é familiar, ok.
Quer dizer, conheci há pouco tempo e estava precisamente a pegar nas diversas ferramentas que eles disponibilizam, que pareceu-me que seria um bom ponto de partida para aquilo que eu estou a tentar fazer agora. Ainda não tinha, e esta forma de preencher o formulário foi mais fácil.
Então nós vamos agora, eu estive aqui já a tomar nota de algumas respostas e vamos agora em conjunto dar só um overview geral e obviamente pronto que isto também é um bocadinho levar as mensagens para casa, pensar um bocadinho sobre o assunto e também vamos fomentar obviamente a partilha de ideias, mas muito obrigado pela vossa participação, está bem? Então eu vou sair agora da sala e vou chamar então toda a gente para a sala principal, está bem? Então vá, até já. Isto é um tema interessante e daria aqui horas se calhar de discussão, não é? É pena termos de facto pouco tempo, mas acho que aqui o importante é também trocar algumas ideias e ficar também já com algum contacto da ferramenta, acho que é bastante útil.
So we will now present and work with another tool that is a very recent one, contrary to this Learn one that we have been working previously. This one was just published, I think, at the end of October or even early November, so it's really fresh out of press. It's the iPass for FAIR. And we have here today with us Frans Huigen, and I really also like to thank Frans for his availability to join us today. Frans works in dance in the Netherlands, and he's been working on the field of research data management for some years, and he's currently working with an important project, the FAIR project, that is going on, and Frans is one of the persons involved on that project. So Frans, without further ado, and we will do something similar to what we have done here with Learn. So Frans will present the tool, and then we will have some time to explore and discuss the tool in breakout groups, and then we'll finish again in plenary. So Frans, thank you very much, and the floor is yours. I will stop sharing my screen so you can share yours now.
Thank you very much, Eloy. Thank you all for. I'm sorry. Do you see my screen now?
Not yet.
Not yet, Frank. Okay.
Yes. No. Yes. No. Okay.
Perfect.
That's perfect. So welcome everybody. Thank you very much again for introducing me, Eloy. I'm very honored to be here. As you said, this tool that I'm presenting is it's actually quite new. We finished working on it in the end of October, indeed, and. To be quite honest, when Pedro Principe contacted me last week, we only just published the work on Zenodo. So I'm very, very eager to present you what we have been working on. But let me talk to you about who we are. I am Frans Huigen, and I very much understand that the name is a difficult one to pronounce in another language than the Dutch one, because the hard G and things. But about me, indeed, I work at DANS. DANS is the Data Archiving Network Service Archive in the Netherlands. We are the biggest one in our easy archiving system. We hold about, I believe the latest numbers are about 2 million data sets, but it's ever growing. And DANS is an organization that ensures the secure and reusable use of research data, and DANS is involved in many projects, among others, the FAIR project, which concerns FAIR data, and as was earlier mentioned, FAIR has only been about until starting somewhere in 2015, and it's quite a new field of interest, especially for research data management. Which is why in the DANS and FAIR context, I have been working with the National Dutch Coordination Point for Research Data Management, which is an organization that focuses especially for universities and research institutions in the Netherlands on what it is to have a research data management organization, how to manage it, thinking about all aspects of it. So what I want to tell you about is our Do I Pass for FAIR assessment tool. And the main tagline is, what we want to say is, our organization wants to be FAIR in 5 years. But there's a thing with FAIR, because the FAIR data principles are next to findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. There are 15 principles below it, so it's quite a collection of things to think about when you're thinking of data, and they are intended to be applied on a data set. But over the time, FAIR has been also used as an adjective for other digital matters, talking about FAIR data stewardship, FAIR data infrastructures, FAIR data services. It's all FAIR, but how exactly do we work with that? In the context of open science and scientific integrity, at least for the Dutch context, universities and research organizations discuss FAIR as a goal in itself. So our organization wants to be FAIR, but we question that and say, do we want to be FAIR, or do we want to be FAIR enabling? Enable FAIR data, enable FAIR services. So our organization needs to think about how we can facilitate the users of FAIR, and eventually make the FAIR principles a main driver in the organization. So let me talk to you about the definition of a FAIR enabling research organization. So triggered by all those uses of the FAIR acronym, we started thinking about a definition for it. What is fair enabling? And secondly, now that we know that what fair enabling is, we want organizations to offer the opportunity to assess that fair enablingness. We want organizations to see to what extent they can improve their services, they can improve their fair data, or whatever you think of when thinking of fair. So the group delivered two things: the definition, which you see here, and the assessment tool, which is the Do I Pass for FAIR, which is, of course, an acronym within an acronym. That's a surprise. It stands for, so the Do I Pass is, the I Pass are the incentives, the policies, the services, the skills, and the adoption. And the questions asked are, for example, in the organization, is there mentioning of fair data in your policies? Because and the discussion in the breakout room also concerned top-down policies. So people in the boardrooms are thinking about how we make our organization and our organization's data more fair. But do we think of how that is practically usable? So that's the goal of this assessment tool, is to have organizations see where they can improve and think about other additional perspectives on research data management. And for this, we have the assessment tool. I hope you can see it, but as you see, I've posted the DOI link, all the publication, and the tool itself is available there. So I can share that with you afterward. But the self-assessment tool is actually quite a simple instrument. It's we've uploaded it on Zenodo. It's an editable PDF form, and you can answer the questions for your own organization as much as you could do that in Learn. We have 3 levels: say beginner, intermediate, and advanced, and you can assess the performance of your organization. Eventually, in doing so, you can define the actual fairness or the extent to which your organization is fair enabling. And in addition to that, you can define a roadmap on how to become a more fair enabling research organization using the information in the more advanced levels. So that's the idea, is that you would want to become an advanced fair enabling organization to the extent possible, of course, because not every organization can to the fullest comply to the advanced level. That depends on what choices are made by the boards. For example, if you look at the first question, are the FAIR principles explicitly mentioned? What does that, then you would have to ask further, not just tick box this, okay, I'm advanced, now that's fun, what do we do now? So you have to think further than, okay, so we have FAIR research data policies, but what does that mean in practice? How can we make then the life of a researcher or a data steward better in enabling the research data management life cycle to be more fair? I've prepared a little bit of a short questionnaire for you. So if you don't mind, please, can I ask you to go to menti.com and join this quiz. I am so 3307545. And I'm actually quite interested in how you just point blank, because I know, of course, you couldn't have read all the questions in one time, but let's say, please could you answer the question, to which extent your organization is fair enabling? So I see people dropping in the quiz. I see some intermediates, beginners. It's actually quite interesting to see the amount of organizations that think they are beginner, because as was mentioned earlier, FAIR started in 2015, but that, that concerned the research data. But FAIR is more than just data, and that is an idea that might not have, developed to a wider extent. I'm not sure. I see 20 people almost. It's fantastic, because afterwards I can share with you, of course, the results, because we did this Menti in the Netherlands as well. And I can share some results, comparing how things are in Portugal for the institutions and the participants, and how they are in the Netherlands. So yeah, that would be great. I see no more people dropping into the Menti. So let me, if you allow me, let me go to the next question, which is, are the FAIR principles explicitly mentioned in your organization's research data policy? So if you're a beginner, let's say that the FAIR principles are not explicitly mentioned. But the difference that's implied here is that whether or not you mention sustainable and long-term storage, that can pertain to something being fair, but that you do not really know of it. But that's not bad. It's not a bad thing if you only have mentioned that. And if you have all FAIR principles mentioned in the policy, we consider that being advanced, because then you've thought about it more focused to the FAIR principles themselves. And to be quite honest, as far as I can remember, FAIR is not yet into people's mindsets on when they think about research data management, or not widely accepted as being fundamental in the research data management policy. But it's interesting to see that even though the FAIR principles aren't mentioned, there can be reference to sustainable and long-term storage. Actually quite pleased to see FAIR principles and the overarching open science concept being mentioned as well. And of course, after my session, I understood that we will go back to breakout rooms, and you can also discuss on which aspects of these FAIR enabling organizations are important to you, or what you see as difficulties. If you allow me, I'll go to the next question. I don't see any answers coming in, and this is also immediately the last question. That is, please fill in a word and mention the most important challenges that you face, or your organizations face, in becoming FAIR enabling. So, for example, I heard the word awareness fall in the breakout room in the discussion. Yeah, there we have it. But what are challenges that you see or think about? You can also feel no challenges. If you have no challenges and you say, well, I'm not interested in my organization becoming FAIR enabling, or having that assessed, which is not a bad thing, because you don't have to shout about it if you facilitate your researchers. So that's interesting. I see awareness and unawareness. So that depends on the perspective you look at it. Is the awareness building a challenge? So indeed, you're talking about people being unaware. That's interesting. So infrastructures as well. I'm interested in hearing what that might be, because I have an idea, but it's more interesting to hear your ideas, of course. Change. That's a good change of mind shift paradigm. The awareness. Interesting to see the words popping up, because they're quite the same as what we had in the Netherlands. I don't think there are, because I saw that 19 people answered the last question. So there's another one. That's great. Thank you. So this was my presentation. As Eloy said in the beginning, it's a new thing. So we're always open for feedback. We're always open to hear what you think. And if you allow me, I'll just close off by saying thank you very much for listening to me. And I've been listening to the Portuguese, and I apologize, it's very rusty, but I think it is muito obrigado por ouvir.
Muito well. Very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frans.
Your Portuguese is better than my Dutch, so well done.
Thank you.
I would suggest a kind of a slightly change of plans here, and Felipe, if you forgive me. So I would so we would split now in probably 3 or 4 groups, but instead of the questions that we have identified, I would probably pick up on this last question of the Mentimeter. What are so can you share again the result, your the last question, Frans? Can you show so what are the main challenges for our organizations to becoming FAIR enabling? And I would suggest then in 10 minutes, because we don't want to that you become that there is no breakout before the next session that will start at 20 past 11. So I would suggest that we in 10 minutes we go on breakout groups and discuss the main challenges for the organization. So this unawareness or awareness infrastructure. So why do you reply as you did? And then we'll get back again here in 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, so 5 minutes after 11. Okay. You agree, Felipe?
Sure. Yeah. I'm going to send you all to the breakout rooms. This time we are going to consider only 3, so there will be more people in the room. So see you later. Okay.
Parte delas não tem, pelo menos no domínio das ciências sociais, mas, portanto, há algumas iniciativas positivas, embora muito limitadas, não é? Mas o panorama é que a maior parte das organizações, e se formos para a administração ainda mais grave se torna, a maior parte das organizações não tem qualquer referência aos princípios FAIR. Pronto, isso é a primeira observação. A segunda é naquelas palavras que ele pede, não é? Qual é os principais desafios? É interessante ver as palavras que surgem em primeiro lugar. Trata-se de recursos humanos, estímulos, formação e consciência, não é? Que é interessante. E, portanto, aquilo que, se me permite alguma interpretação, eu digo que o problema do FAIR não é somente uma questão de direção de políticas institucionais e coisas desse género, é também um problema de formação das pessoas, de haver uma base de recursos necessários à implementação do FAIR. Voltando à questão dos médicos, é um bom exemplo, não são os médicos
the ones don't know why this is important, and
they don't know that they don't know.
Exactly. That lack of awareness that there's something missing. So I was in the previous discussion we were also talking about the thing of the reward system, and that this may be important to be part of the funding things of training already at the PhD training in the institutions. So that should be some kind of top guidance, top-down guidance.
Infrastructures, for instance, for current research data, they don't. Most of the majority of the infrastructure don't have open data repositories or a repository to publish and share the data. There are no data management plan tools, so there is still really. We are moving forward, and there are some institutions that are already providing some infrastructures, and there are some, and we have some plans to also do it at national level, but it's still a challenge because, again, I totally agree that you need policies, and policies are the most important, but you cannot say that you need to make your data fair and you'll be assessed by making your data fair, and then you don't provide any support to doing that. So no infrastructure doing that. So and that's still a problem. I understand that's not a problem in the Netherlands, but that's still a problem in Portugal.
No, it's not. It's definitely something worth. Yeah, no, it is definitely something that's on the agenda in our country as well. But it's interesting to see that there lies an interesting chance to improve and to grow, which is always, because FAIR is, of course, FAIR is a European initiative. It's about collaboration. It's about sharing knowledge. It's about working together. So yeah, that's quite interesting.
Eloy, I would suggest to go back to plenary sessions. Yes, okay, yes. So I will close all the. Yeah. Estava a ser uma discussão interessante. Sim, mas e é uma pena interromper, não é?
Para começarmos a sessão a outra às 11h20. A Filipa conseguiu fazer alguma coisa com o LAM?
Sim, tenho aqui.
Ok, excelente.
Posso aqui mostrar aqui alguns dados. Estava tudo embrenhado em discussão, não é? É uma pena terminar, não é? Mas isto é algo que depois podem continuar. Também é sempre produtivo, não é? Estimular e dar início a estas iniciativas, acho que é ótimo. Obrigado por terem regressado e termos terminado aqui a discussão. Eu sugeri então fazermos agora aqui um género de um breve fecho em relação aqui às duas ferramentas. E Eloy, se me permitir, eu se calhar partilhava aqui alguns dos resultados que tivemos a ver em relação ao RDM. Conseguem ver o meu ecrã? Conseguem. Eu estive aqui a recolher a informação, nós tivemos o preenchimento de 16 participantes e eu tive aqui a identificar quais seriam então aquelas áreas de mais destaque que valesse a pena referir. Sorry, I'm going to speak in English. Sorry, friends. I was talking in Portuguese. I was just mentioning that we were analyzing the data regarding the RDM readiness results, and we had a response from 16 participants, and I'm just going to take a quick overview regarding the main topics. So in terms of policy, we can see that according to the participants, more than 50% do not have a policy regarding research data. So this is the caller traffic that Ignasi just mentioned, and that it's quite quick to see the impact of the callers. In terms of leadership, things are balanced. In terms of roles, is quite interesting to see that also 50% of the participants mentioned that some staff still need to shift part of their work to be involved in the management of the research data. In terms of information services, we are also here a big amount of responses in the yellow color. So there is someone in the institution that can give some advice on the research data. In terms of dissemination, things are more or less balanced. And then we have here infrastructure that we can see that around half of the participants consider that researchers need to use external facilities to manage their data. So this is a very interesting information. In terms of cost model, we do not have any answer in the green colors. So the majority is allocated to that there are no analyses regarding the cost of managing research in their organization. So this is also an interesting topic. In terms of legal, there is still also work to do. So the main answers are related to the fact that the institution does not have a policy on intellectual property. In terms of selection of data, also 50% red color. So the institution has not established any guidance about research data that should be kept. In terms of publication and sharing, the 44% are in the yellow line. So the institution allows researchers to publish research data in their repository. In terms of training, we have also here a tendency in the yellow color. So the institution offers training sessions in research data management upon demand. The ideal would be to have these topics addressed directly to the researchers. In terms of revision and updates, we also have a majority in the yellow color. So the institution is still developing services for managing research data, but there is no scheduled calendar for doing the review. And finally, the open data. We have 88% allocated to the fact that the institution allows researchers to share their data openly, and around 12% publish research data openly by default. So my suggestion is to gather this data, and we will share with the participants of the workshop, because I think it's a very useful information. Eloy, I don't know if you want to mention regarding do I pass for FAIR, some conclusions?
I think we have seen the slide from the results from the Mentimeter that we were discussing, and I think the main main themes have emerged, the usual and the really important ones, that is policies. So the importance of having policies to guide and to support the work that needs to be done. Then the second aspect, I think it's the question of skills and human resource and resources and skilled resources. So to provide the services and the support that are needed. A third thing that have also emerged on the discussion and also on the Mentimeter is the question of awareness. This is a kind of related with skills, but I think it's still different. And finally, the question of infrastructures, as we have seen also here, half of the respondents said that they have no infrastructure, so researchers will have to use external infrastructure to really manage their data. So I think there are no real surprise on both results. I think they just reflect the situation. I think we don't have too much time now, because I'm aware we have just 5 minutes for the next session. But I would really like to raise the last question that we had thought of, and if you can provide us feedback by email, you can. I think you have the contacts from myself and I think from Filippo, João Moreira, or Pedro. The third thing, as we are now discussing and preparing some kind of national strategy and services, where do you think those you need support at national level for your local activities, for your own institutional strategy? Where do you think you will need support at national level? Because then we can try to focus our work on that. And with that, I think at least I need to make a break before going to the next session. I have some physiological needs. And so I really thank you very much. And Filippo, please close.
No, I was just going to ask André if he could share the link regarding the next section. And conjointly with Eloy, I would like to thank Ignasi and Frans, of course, and also the participants of the workshop. And we hope to have many more of these initiatives in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and see you in a minute.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, thank you.
Obrigado. Obrigado, Ignasi.